Hello, everyone. Hello, Adam. Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks, Stephen. Really good.
Good. Before we get started with the questions submitted by our colleagues, this is the third of these sessions with you now, and we touched previously on your background with NHS Grampian, but I wanted to ask you, what are the things you want to do as Chief Executive?
Yeah, so I think there's probably three key things that I'm after. I think the first is to think about the future, and I'm really keen that we generate a sense of hope and a sense of optimism for a future that's sustainable. And obviously that's drawn really clearly in the plan for the future, that idea that we're trying to generate a sustainable system that balances well-being and the treatment of illness. And I think the more all of the leadership team throughout the organisation can enthuse people and give hope. So I think that's number one. I think number two is something about our performance and how we improve the performance. I'm really clear that we've got bits of the system that aren't working how anyone would want them to, be that in planned care. Patients are definitely waiting too long for procedure, or some patients are waiting too long for procedures. And, in an unscheduled care, we're very familiar that the flow through the hospital isn't, again, how anyone would want it. So I think if we can see changes in how we perform as an organisation, that would be really positive and a real difference for our population and for patients. And I think the third thing is about our colleagues and our staff, and how do we work together to, generate that sense of change and leadership that we need across everyone that works in the organisation, balanced with the well-being. So I'm really conscious that it's incredibly tough at the moment, and has felt like that for really since the start of the COVID pandemic. So if we can continue to make an organisation that is really positive place to work, where the well-being of individuals is really good, where people are absolutely thriving, learning and all the things that make well-being really good, then for me that would be three really key things to achieve.
That's great, thank you. And finally, before we get started, as people will likely have noticed, we're trying something a little bit different today and doing this in person. We've had a couple of colleagues in anaesthetics who are passionate about film and video production in their spare time, who very kindly offered to come in on their days off to help us film this for a nice change. So thank you to Andrew and Charles for your help, and I know they and we would be keen to hear your thoughts on this type of format. We've got our first question in. So question one comes from Ian Clooney, who is a BMS3 in toxicology, who writes, how many whole-time equivalent staff does NHS Grampian plan to employ to make up for the reduction of the working week to 37 hours per week this year and going down to 36 hours per week in the next 2 years? As this is part of a plan to make staff's work-life balance better, if no extra people are employed, it stands to reason that then everyone will be expected to do their current workload in less time, which does not seem to be in the spirit of the agreement.
Yeah, and thanks for the question. This is something I think we're all worrying away at to how we do it. So I think first off, I'd say that I'm really supportive of the policy. I think it's really good. Back to my three important things, well-being being one of them, and I think the reduction in the working weeks, is a really positive step forward to support well-being as a whole. In terms of how we do that, I think there's more work to do. We've certainly got teams, and I'm sure the laboratory team are working away at this as well. How do we do, I guess, one of two things? How do we use this as part of a lever for redesign? Can we create any efficiency and change in the work that we do? So is there a genuine reduction in work through doing that? And maybe this is one more lever to help that. So I think that's one thing. I think the second thing is we have a small amount of money that's come centrally from government, across the country, to support the changes in all three aspects of the non-pay aspects of Agenda for Change. And so there's some money for staff. I think the question implies there's just a linear relationship between the changes we make and therefore you need that number of staff. And I just think there's a bit more complexity. Sorry, I've forgotten his name. Ian. I hope that Ian's, absolutely part of the discussions in the bit of labs that he works in to figure out how we find that balance. And undoubtedly, we need to work on that together. And I'm pleased to say, and I hope you'd agree, Stephen, we're absolutely working on that in partnership to try and find just the best answer we can find as we implement that policy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. There's a huge amount of work happening, as you say, Adam, in partnership with accredited reps of recognised trade unions. So, yeah, there are a lot of people spending a lot of time trying to, consider all the issues at play. So the next question is from a member of the dental school staff who asks, as a healthcare professional, should I be expected to be abused by someone having asked them to move from the front of the maternity hospital, of all places, while they smoke? They were actually sitting directly underneath a "Do Not Smoke Here" sign. Judging by the large number of cigarette butts littering that particular area, there's obviously little regard for the rules being expressed on the non-smoking signs. Come the hotter weather, the windows will be open, and I cannot see how these noxious fumes won't be finding their way into the hospital. Could we not police the areas most commonly used by smokers and where these rules are meant to be enforced for the benefit of every patient, old and young?
So absolutely, you shouldn't be abused by anyone, and that's the case whether you're taking an action like that, and I absolutely applaud you for having the courage to go up to someone and ask them to stop smoking in those smoking area. We clearly don't want anyone smoking anywhere at all. If we could stop smoking, that'd be a tremendous thing. Many patients do smoke, and trying to enforce the legislation is very difficult. We don't have any enforcement powers, and we're, as I understand it, working with the council to see if there are mechanisms, because they have some local enforcement. So we'll find out about that as we go forward. I think if people are feeling okay to ask people to not smoke, I think that's a really good thing. And we'll perhaps go back and see things we can do around us encouraging people not to smoke. I do remember many years ago when I worked at the Foresterhill site, someone did go round and encourage people not to smoke, but it wasn't ever so effective, which was why that stopped when that person left. So it's a really great question and one for us to think about again. So thanks for bringing that to my attention, and we'll see what we can do. And maybe we could report back in a future one of these videos or through the daily brief if we come up with something that looks really tangible that we think will make a difference as we go forward.
Yeah, I would agree with you entirely that you're certainly, no employee should be getting abused, for you doing anything. I guess my own experience, and certainly for colleagues watching, there was a number of years that I was pretty heavily involved in the review and the implementation of the various versions of our tobacco policy, and it's always that balance of absolutely being brave enough as an employee to ask the question, but also couching in a way that is sensitive. So perhaps around the maternity hospital, we never really know what the individual is going through at the point that we're asking. So, there are those sort of complexities. But yeah, I would agree. Let's see if there's something we can do to support our staff, for addressing or trying to address the issue. Okay. Question 3 comes from an anonymous radiographer. Who says, I work in a clinical outpatient department that have 3 emergency trolleys. We are very fortunate to not have to use them often. However, when we need to replace a few items due to expiry dates, we have to purchase large amounts of stock for only these 1 or 2 items, which results in a significant cost. Could NHS Grampian not review having a store shop type of thing for small clinical outpatient departments, where we could return expired or soon-to-be expired equipment in exchange? This would save NHS Grampian a significant amount of money for stock, and it's something that this colleague says is implemented in England.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a great idea. I'm sure there'll be some complexities to doing that, space and staff and all those sorts of things. And definitely something we can pick up with the procurement team to see how we might make that a tangible thing. I guess my immediate thought would be perhaps there's something the team could do slightly more locally, that might be slightly easier than trying to set up one massive system for the whole of the organisation. And I wonder if, you know, outpatient clinics could share it, or I don't know if the person's from Aberdeenshire, maybe if it's a remote clinic, I think is what you said. So, you know, maybe in Aberdeenshire they could share differently, or in city, or between city and shire to do that. My understanding as well is that in PCOS, for some of the things where it feels like you have to order bulk, I think the procurement team are doing work to enable people to order slightly smaller volumes. So maybe I'm sure they did, so I'm not suggesting you didn't, but maybe a double check on those, or some feedback to procurement about the sorts of packs they might split, so that we can do it slightly differently. And you know, that just ties in so well, doesn't it, to our overall financial position, and the scheme that Tom Power, our Director of People and Culture's leading on, around every penny counts, and that sense of all those ideas that people have come up that just like that save smallish sums of money in the grand scheme of things, but absolutely stuff we need to get after. So thanks. It'd be great if you can explore that locally. We'll do some work with Jennifer Yeomans, the head of procurement, and see, you know, if we can find something tangible to do there.
Yeah. Okay. Question 4 is from Jim Scott at who works in the local decontamination unit in Spiny in Elgin. And Jim says, I've been employed as a dental decontamination technician at Spiny Dental in Elgin since June 2022. Spiny has 10 dental chairs in total. The post is salaried as Band 2. However, I've discovered that decontamination technicians who deal with medical instruments at ARI are, after training, Band 3. The explanation I've been given is that this is an anomaly, as we are classed as a small unit. Our role in Elgin sterilising and maintaining instruments to an extremely high standard is vital to ensure patient safety and to ensure confidence for clinicians that they are using clean and sterile instruments. My understanding also is that our compatriots in small units in the English and Welsh NHS are also Band 3. I would respectfully suggest that our grading as Band 2 appears to be at odds with the rest of the UK and the gravity of our role. I do also fully appreciate the financial restrictions the NHS faces. However, the number of staff any upgrades demand would have is very small.
Right, thanks, Jim, for the question and for bringing that up. So firstly, I really like the Spiny unit. I visited it many times, actually, so great work going on there. The anomaly, if it is indeed an anomaly, we have a process for that. So all you need to do, Jim, is ask for a job review, and that will take place. That works with a panel that has both partnership and a manager on it. And if indeed the detail of your job description suggests it should be so we'll need to make sure your job description's right, it should be a Band 3, then that will be put in place as a process to follow for that. That's right, it's a job review, that's the right.
Yeah,
regrading review, yeah. So so please come forward, and just to reassure you, our overall financial position doesn't come into play with that. You know, you will get paid at the rate you should get paid. And actually, maybe this is an opportune time. We were at the Grampian Area Partnership Forum yesterday, and there was a concern raised about this is about nurses who will come into the process to be considered being regraded from Band 5 to a Band 6. And we've had some feedback that some people are worried, concerned, not wanting to add to the financial burden and feel they shouldn't put themselves forward. And I want to be categorically clear, please do not consider that. It's important that if you believe your job needs to be regraded at any point, either through that or like Jim in the dental suite at Spiny, there is a process. We'll do that. The money's clearly a worry, but that's something for us to worry about, not you to take on yourself as an individual around the overall bit, around this pay part. Clearly, I want everyone joining in with the broader money thing. But so hopefully that's helpful, just to add that bit in preparation for the future part of that worry. You know, absolutely, if you believe you're graded at the wrong point, please come forward through that process.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Okay, question 5 is on car parking from someone else who has remained anonymous, and they didn't say where they worked. However, what they say is the entrance on Cornhill Road opposite Rosehill House and the Life Sciences Innovation Building is becoming dangerous for staff and patients coming into and leaving this area due to this granite strip of stones becoming dislodged and loose. Not to mention that it dips in that area as well, making it difficult to move out safely. And the colleague's asking, when will this be made safe?
Right, so I do know about this, and I'm aware that some money's been allocated for that, and through our Facilities and Estates team, they're working with the term contractors. So I'm sorry I don't know the timeline, but that is on the list and has got some resource identified against it. So perhaps we can have a chase up next month and see if it's been... I'm sorry I don't know the timeline, but I am aware some money's been allocated for that, so hopefully it'll be fixed sooner rather than later, but it's definitely in this year's financial allocation.
Question 6 then is from an anonymous dental technician who emailed to say, when will parking restrictions at Foresterhill come back into effect? Issuing non-enforceable fines to cars parked inappropriately is a waste of resources. The orange cones that are placed throughout do not deter parking in restricted areas and have become a hazard for passing cars.
Yeah, interestingly, we spoke about this at GAPF yesterday as well. So the first really important bit is, and you all know this, but I'm going to say it anyway, clearly we need really good access to all of our sites, all of our healthcare sites. Foresterhill absolutely needs to have good access for ambulances and also for potential fire and rescue vehicles and things. So it's really important we have legitimate parking in everywhere. I guess I would pay some praise to the team that work on the car parking and absolutely try and support it. Again, we don't have many tools forward. Again, a tricky one, and a bit like the smoking bit, you know, if you're feeling able and to challenge someone, please do. It may be an opportune time just to talk very briefly about the broader car parking bit in the Lady Helen car park. I'm sure everyone's aware that we put in a formal request through planning to Aberdeen City Council to have a change in planning permission. You know, we've had support from the foundation who funded the car park to continue to allow staff to use the top floors, but that's against our planning permission guidance. So that's in process with the council, and of course we'll keep folks updated. So meantime, no changes in how people can park. But I like the question, you know, please support us to get the most compliant parking we can on a very restricted site.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, parking needs to be done in a way that is safe and also respectful of other users. So, okay, question 7. We've had a couple of questions this month regarding autism and ADHD assessments and their waiting times, which I know we've touched on certainly in previous Ask Adam videos. But you know, these questions have come from staff who are either waiting themselves or who have family members who are waiting, which is something that's come up a number of times recently. I mentioned this to you before we started filming, and I think rather than taking the questions this month, you wanted to go away and do some work to get some more detail for people and a bit more clarity for them. Do you want to say anything on that just now, Adam?
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. And you know, apologies, I'm not really in a position to answer that. I think this is a complex area and a really important area. I think the work we need to do around neurodiversity is really important for both members of the public and also for our colleagues and people who work with us. I think there's a couple of things I'd say. The first is that there is a ton of stuff happening, and lots of that's through Aberdeen City, Aberdeenshire and Murray Health and Social Care Partnerships. And what I'm going to ask Emma Pettis, who leads on the Daily Brief, is to do a special on what is available, rather than me try and run through it now and not get everything right and things. So we'll do that hopefully over the next few weeks, and that will show, you know, what City, Shire and Murray are doing, because I think there is lots of things happening. And then, you know, I think I'd appreciate coming back to it perhaps next month to say some more detail to follow on from that. And the final thing on this is that there is some legislation currently moving through Scottish Parliament that I think is going to set out some more framework for us to then build on around neurodiversity. So that might be really helpful for us to you know, work on a consistent basis across Scotland for those services that we need to develop or change, as it were, as we go forward.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. I hope colleagues find that useful, and as you say, there'll be more information coming. Yeah. Out in the next few weeks. So thank you. Okay, Adam, the final question for today comes from an anonymous theatre staff member who works at Dr. Gray's, and they ask, can Adam provide clarity about Dr. Gray's status as a district general hospital in the Grampian and North of Scotland network? If you ask different people, you get different answers. The lack of clarity and certainty makes recruitment very difficult in our team, and I'm sure that's right across the hospital.
Another really pertinent question about Dr. Gray's and recruitment and things. So maybe if I start off with a bit about theatres, and then if that's okay, Stephen, I'll expand to a slightly broader Dr. Gray's kind of commentary on that. So there's some theatre work going on at the moment. There's some improvement work, and there's something happening. I think when this broadcast goes out, it will have happened. About improvements in theatre and how we make theatre as productive as it can be in Dr. Gray's, and I think part of that is some of that clarity of you know, what they are doing and what they're not doing in the theatres in Dr. Gray's. I'm attending that actually just very briefly on one of the days, and I'm looking forward to that, to find out how they're getting on with that and the teams working together, both within theatre and obviously all the users that come in and out of theatres, as it were. So there's something specific about theatres. I think that the broader question is really key. I think, you know, Dr. Gray's, we have quite a large number of locums, which makes it, I guess, very difficult for continuity, and also adds a cost that's very difficult in our current financial times. So we have signed off by the board about 14 or 15 months ago, maybe something like that. And anyway, the Dr. Gray's strategy, which set out very clearly a number of things that we want to do in Dr. Gray's to absolutely have it as a vibrant district general hospital. It wasn't to change the DGH status at all. Very much the opposite. It was to make it a thriving hospital. I think we've seen some really positive progress around the obstetric work, the recovering the maternity. The maternity unit is an obstetric-led unit, and that's had some real success in the recruitment. And if people haven't seen the recruitment video, you know, please have a look. It's really fabulous and seems to be having a good impact. And I know lots of the team, both at Dr. Gray's and some of the corporate teams, are supporting recruitment, and they're attending certain disciplines, sort of conferences, to try and get recruitment. And so far, that looks to be really quite promising. So hopefully the recruitment might improve. But I think the key bit in the question for me was about the clarity of what we do and we don't do at Dr. Gray's, that allows it to be really clear what it is. And if you look to come and have a job there, then it's you know, it's clear what you're coming to. So I think the translation that's going on at the moment through the project team for the delivery of the Dr. Gray's strategy, that translation from a strategic intent to, you know, deliverable plans, it is really doing exactly that bit of work. It's trying to understand what we will do and what we won't do at Dr. Gray's. And again, there's something about, you know, not being anything other than, you know, really clear what we do that allows, I've probably said it, but people to be, you know, just sure what job they're coming to and what they're not coming to. And again, I think the only other bit I'd add is we're doing, you know, lots and lots of work with NHS Highland to try and think about how we network provision really across Inverness and Elgin on the basis that I guess gives a slightly different context to a job. If you do some work in more than one site, you can clearly do some more complex work in Inverness. And the reason for doing particular networking there rather than with Aberdeen is just about the distance, that the distance is a bit closer. And it has the benefit of, Inverness definitely would benefit as well. There's a real win-win there of some of their vulnerability in recruitment as well, and trying to work across. So that's early days, and the obstetric work is absolutely finding its feet in sorting some of that out to do it. But from my perspective, it's that's breaking the ground for lots of the specialties that work there to think of that as part of the model. And clearly we need to do more work with how it networks with Aberdeen better. There's some really good examples, and I think there's some examples where we could clearly do more, and that would be productive for all sites. So I think it's a really good question about the clarity, and again, maybe it's something we could come back to maybe in 3 or 4 or 5 months to see if that clarity is coming, as I say, as the translation from the strategic plan into delivery plans continues to gather momentum.
Yeah, thanks Adam. I'm sure colleagues in Dr. Mays will be able to provide us with that sort of feedback, and hopefully they will see all these actions bear fruit. Okay, thanks Adam, and thank you everyone for watching. I hope you found that useful. We'll be back in July for another session, so feel free to send us in your questions in the usual manner. As I mentioned earlier, let us know what you think of this as a different format. We won't be able to do it this way every month, but if people would like us to do it some of the time, or have any other suggestions about how we could improve the format for you, the viewer, then please let us know.